right, Jason Garrett is here on Sunday at 3 p.m. The Rams play the Eagles on NBC. He's been a great part of the NBC pregame show. Devin McCourty's been on this show. Chris Sims has been on this show. Finally, Jason Garrett is here. Although, I have to ask you, have you been working out with Sims? I mean, Sims has been looking really buff this year. Have you been working out, hitting the weights with Chris Sims?
You know, I have not, but I hear about all the stuff that he's doing. What do they call it? CrossFit.
CrossFit.
He's a big CrossFit guy and all that. Sometimes he looks good in the uni, and sometimes it looks like he's bulking up maybe a little bit too much. I don't know.
He's on notice. He's on notice. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye. That's a good storyline going into this weekend. How good does Chris Sims look? But I want to ask you, not to bring up bad memories, but your last playoff game that you were in as a coach was against Sean McVay. Sean McVay won. Teach me something about what Sean McVay has built. Obviously, we saw it on Monday night, how good he is at just, building a game plan, just culture-wise, getting those guys, rallying them together just a couple days from, not even playing in their home stadium. I mean, the Wildfires, I don't think anybody understands LA geography. The Wildfires were pretty close to that Rams facility. He's able to rally them. Obviously, we know what he is as an offensive coach. What does Sean McVay do that makes the Rams so good every single year, Jason?
Well, let's start. He's just a fantastic football coach.
Yeah,
he is. And you think about it, he's still, 38 or 39 years old. And, the job he did way back when in Washington as the offensive coordinator, I think anybody who was following it closely took notice. And then he gets the opportunity with the Rams, and he was really young. And to think about what he did at such a young age to build that program is pretty amazing. And I think he's a fantastic offensive coach.
Yeah.
I think he's an excellent teacher. I've sat in meetings with him. I've been on the practice field with him, and I think he's really, really good at that. But you should not underestimate how good he is as a head coach, as someone who's leading that organization, because I think he's phenomenal for so many different reasons. Think about all the coaches who have left his staff to go be coordinators and head coaches at other places, and how he just continues to bring different new coaches in, and they just keep rolling. Think about how well his players have played for him, individual guys having their best years of their careers.
100%.
And obviously think about every year he's knocking on the door of the playoffs. He's in the playoffs. He's knocking on the door of the divisional round, all of that stuff. And he's just a really, really impressive guy. I texted him this morning. I said, I think the job you did last night might have been your best coaching job ever. And that's a big statement, because if you think about what they're going through out there, and to get making everybody feel safe and secure and cared for, and at the same time maintaining the edge you need to in your preparation to go win a playoff game. And, oh, by the way, we're going to go travel on Friday, and we're going to upset the schedule and then reset over here and then have to go play. And then for them to play as well as they did, as efficiently as they did, but then also with the emotion and the enthusiasm, and just to play at a high level in all phases of their team, I just thought it was remarkable. I was playing for the Giants at 9/11. And I just know that what we went through there, 9/11 is obviously one of the most tragic days in our country's history, but there was so much emotion around that.
Yep.
And it was so hard to separate real life from football and get everybody refocused. And I know what the challenge was then, and they really embraced it and handled it incredibly well last night.
I completely agree with you. Other side of the ball, the Eagles. I do this show 3 times a week, and I spent a year trying to talk myself out of Nick Sirianni and saying, oh, they had the tailspin last year and all that stuff. And then I'm looking at the winningest active coaches with winning percentage. He's right at the top. They keep having these great seasons. Turns out I can't do it anymore. I can't talk myself out of Nick Sirianni. But part of this is just how good that roster is. And I mean, they got studs everywhere, every position group. I don't see a weakness. Take me through what makes this Eagles team so good this year.
Just remember, they booed Santa Claus and Michael Jack Schmidt in Philadelphia, right? So that just comes with the dinner in Philadelphia, and there's a lot of scrutiny there, and it can be a tough crowd. But the job that he's done, I think, has been remarkable. and they certainly have a talented team, but it's not like their team is so much more talented than any team that's ever been assembled. They have a really good team, but he's done a heck of a job coaching that team. And the initial staff that he assembled with Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, fantastic. Those guys leave, and I think they needed to do a little bit of a reset because it just seemed like the collapse they had last year after starting 10-1 was real.
Yeah,
and when you watch them play, they didn't play with the same spirit. They didn't play with the same confidence and belief. That was obvious to anybody who watched them play on Sundays. And so that collapse was a cause for concern. But then the reset happens. Let's go get Vic Fangio. Let's go get Kellen Moore. Let's just reset what we're doing, and let's get back to our winning ways. And for them, I think they started 2-2, and then they rattled off 11 or 12 in a row. And they've been, arguably the best, most balanced team in the league. I love how they've built the team. They're strong on the offensive line. They made commitments there. They're strong on the defensive line. They've made commitments there. And they obviously have excellent skill. The Saquon addition, A.J. Brown, Devontae on offense, the young guys they drafted in the secondary on defense. I think they've done an excellent job putting that team together. Howie Roseman, one of the best in the league at that. But the combination and the alignment they have in their organization right now is right. And that's why you win 12, 13, 14 games in a row like they have. And the balance they have and the ability to win on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball gives them a great chance to win this week and really continue to have success in the playoffs.
I completely agree with that. Everything you said is correct. And obviously the Kellen Moore addition, Kellen has been absolutely massive this year. And they solved it. Everybody gets to make 1 year of mistakes. And it's not that the coordinator hires weren't hit on the screws this time last year, and now they solved it. Vic Fangio is an amazing coach. Kellen Moore has pushed all the right buttons. I want to ask a couple Cowboys questions. You know the franchise well. I'll start here. Obviously, there's an opening there. What type of coach thrives in Dallas? Because I think everybody's saying, they can't interview Aaron Glenn. They can't interview Ben Johnson. They fired Mike too late. But to me, Jerry's always going to do stuff a little bit different. It's a different type of organization. If someone comes to you and says, what works in Dallas as a head coach, what's the general answer there, Jason?
Well, let's pull back on head coaching hires. And I think this has happened here in the last few years, and I think it's good. For a few years there, it was all about hiring guys within the first 48 hours of when the season ended. And it's like everybody had to have this quick hire. And I do think that hire is so critical for these organizations that your willingness to be patient and take time and go through the process, not only evaluating your own guys and then evaluating the candidates, I think is really important. You need to be thorough on this. And so if it takes a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do it, it's a really, really important hire for your organization. Hopefully it's a hire that, stays in place for 5 or 10 years. So being patient, I don't think is a bad thing. The kind of coach who thrives there is someone who's a really good coach. There's no doubt that ownership is involved. Jerry Jones is the general manager of the team. So he's the owner / general manager is involved, and he should be. That's how the organization's set up. So I think you have to be an excellent communicator. I think you have to be an excellent leader. And when I say communicator and leader, it's not only communicating and leading to your staff and to your team, it's also leading upward in the organization. I think you have to have a really clear vision for what you want the team to be. And this is what I want it to look like as a team, on offense, defense, kicking game. These are the kind of players we want to have. And I think you have to be able to clearly articulate that and get everybody on the same page. The teams that have success in the NFL are aligned. They're aligned from ownership to general manager to head coach to coordinators, quarterback, all the way down through. Look at the obvious examples: Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, some of the other ones, the teams that are there year after year. So you're trying to create alignment, and when you're the head coach, you're really in charge of that. You're in charge of the creating the vision and letting everybody know that this is what we want this team to look like, and we have to be disciplined to making the decisions to make this vision come alive. And I think it can be challenging in Dallas because of the ownership general manager, but also can be advantageous in Dallas because the ownership and the general manager is the same guy. So it's incumbent upon you to do a great job communicating what the vision is, being disciplined to that. And when we did that, when I was the head coach there, we drafted really good players and we had really good teams. And when we deviated from that and we were less disciplined, we weren't quite as good. And I think that's a really important thing to understand.
I know this is a big question, but if Jerry came to you and said, "Hey, Jason, should I do something differently? Should I be less involved? Should I be more involved?" Would you change anything about that structure? I mean, you said the owners should be involved, and in most places they are. Just Jerry talks about it a little bit more. Would you advise Jerry to change the way he operates in any way, Jason?
Well, Jerry's 82 years old, and he's done things a certain way for a long, long time. So, I think if you go in there as the head coach, you have to embrace what those dynamics are.
Yeah.
And you have to learn. I learned a tremendous amount from Jerry Jones during my time there as a player, as an assistant coach, and as a head coach. He's a really, really bright guy who has great perspective on a lot of things inside and outside of football. So, having a beginner's mind and someone who wants to learn from someone like that, I think is important. But then also having your own vision about how things need to be and being able to communicate that vision is critical. I don't think you should spend a lot of time trying to change Jerry Jones. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you have to understand what his strengths are and then maybe some of the areas where you guys can work together to make the organization better than it's been in recent years.
Last Cowboys question for you. Obviously, Dak Prescott gets hurt this year. Does the media narrative around Dak frustrate you? Just because it seems, listen, when you're quarterback of the Cowboys, you're always going to lead the morning shows. You're always going to lead talk radio, but it just seems like he gets over-discussed in a way quarterbacks don't in other markets or whatever. If you could wave a wand and have anybody understand something about Dak and what he's got going on for next season, what would it be, Jason?
Yeah, I just think he's a fantastic football player and has been. We're fortunate to have him. We drafted him in the 4th round. His rookie year, he comes in. Kellen Moore got hurt. Tony Romo got hurt. We went 13-3, and we're really 13-2, and we didn't play him in the last game. And he just, to me, he's been fantastic right from the start. He's gotten better and better and better. I do think that quarterbacks in so many ways, their performance can be a reflection of what's going on around them.
Yeah.
And when the Cowboys have run the ball well and played good defense, Dak Prescott has played at a really high level. Now, he'd be the first to tell you there have been some disappointments in the playoffs, right? I mean, legacies are made by winning playoff games and winning Super Bowls. We get all that. But, there have been a lot of great players in this league playing that position who early on in their career and had some struggles. And then when they broke through, they broke through. And typically they broke through because the team around them had gotten better. I think about John Elway, one of the greatest players ever to walk. For years, John Elway would take the Denver Broncos and put them on his shoulders and take them through the playoffs into the Super Bowl. And they'd have these disappointing losses. And they did because they weren't as good as the team they were playing. And then when they got better and they got Terrell Davis and they running the football and all of that, all of a sudden John Elway's holding the trophy over his head. Peyton Manning, similar arc, some other guys. So, I think it's important to recognize that it's a team game. Yeah. Everybody's a part of it. And when the team around Dak, like any quarterback, has gotten better, he's played at a really, really high level. And there's no reason to think he can't do that for the rest of his career.
Completely agree. You play the position, you coach the position, you're offensive coordinator, all that stuff. From a quarterback's perspective, someone who understands the position so innately, tell me why Lamar Jackson is playing this well this season.
Well, Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP.
Yeah.
He's been playing well for a long, long time.
Yeah, he sure has.
We were laughing about it. I met some guy the other day from Palm Beach, and we were talking about football, and he said, I can remember Lamar in high school. They would just write these articles and show his highlights. He was the greatest thing ever. I'm like, he's kind of doing the same thing in the NFL. And, when I watched him at Louisville, I just was amazed by him.
Yeah,
he just was so much better than everybody, and I think he's continued to do that. His evolution as a player, to me, has been remarkable. his growth as a drop back passer and his ability to beat you from the pocket, in addition to all the other amazing things that he does, I think has been incredible. And, he reminds me of the best players that I've been around where they're incredibly natural and instinctive at the game. And when you see him out in space pointing to guys and giving guys the nod and doing I mean, you think about this. This is pro football. The guys chasing him are the best athletes on the planet, and he's making it look like he's in the playground.
Yep.
And so I think he has rare athletic ability, but I also think he has rare instincts and rare feel for the game. And I commend him so much for refining his ability as a drop back passer. He can beat you from the pocket so many different ways. And then all of a sudden he's making these runs and making the plays in space. So he's playing, he probably has had his best year. And that's a high standard because this guy is a 2-time MVP. I absolutely love him to death.
I did a story a couple years ago with some of those Palm Beach coaches, and one of the guys, the coach that the viral thing happened where he stops the goal line, lets the kid run past him, then goes in. I called the opposing coach. His name was Don Hanna. And he said that game, because they had played Lamar before, but that game, they thought they had a game plan for him. He just runs all over him, passes all over him. He said that he had an existential crisis. He was going, am I the coach I thought I was? Am I the guy that I think can put these kids in position to succeed? He literally was like devastated. And then he goes, 3 years later, they're doing the same thing to Florida State. 3 years later, after that, he's doing the same thing to the Steelers and whomever. And now he's saying, wait, I feel amazing. I'm the same as Mike Tomlin. I'm the same as Jimbo Fisher. Like, that's just what he does at every single level.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I've been around him in a couple different settings where I was at a training camp practice or I was an in-season walkthrough. And he's one of those guys like the elite athletes that we see in all sports that when you're there, you just watch them.
Yep.
Right? If you go to a hockey game and Wayne Gretzky's playing, there's a lot of other great players on the ice, but if you're a fan, you just kind of watch Gretzky the whole time, and he's one of those guys. And the biggest takeaway for me is how much he loves to play football.
Yep.
How much he enjoys it and how that attitude is contagious throughout their team. And he has an amazing way of making plays, but also keeping everybody loose and helping them to be their best. And he's had an incredible career so far, and I think it's only getting better and better and better. He's so much fun to watch.
I agree with that. Quick ones for you. You worked for Nick Saban on his NFL staff. When someone is around the greats of the game like that, I just have to pick their brain. Give me something Nick Saban taught you about football that sticks with you today.
Oh, we could spend 24 hours on this show talking about what I learned from Nick Saban. There are so many things that I learned, and what I feel so fortunate for that experience. I had just finished playing with the Dolphins as a backup quarterback, and then had an opportunity a couple of weeks later to interview with Nick. And there are literally 1,000 stories that I could share with you about him that are just so damn funny. But there's so much wisdom that came from him. And, line one for me with Nick Saban was just, he was relentless.
Yeah.
He was relentless in making sure everything we did as a coaching staff, as a football team, was done at the highest level. And, that image of there's a Kleenex on the floor and everyone, we're picking that thing up. The picture on the wall is crooked. We're going to make sure that thing is straight. And like every aspect of everything we did was scrutinized very closely with a desire to make it the best. How we practiced, how we walked through, certainly how we played, but also the meetings. If we had a 30 visit with college players, if you were conducting an interview at the combine, like everything. And we'd go through it. Okay, let's talk about it. We used to do after action reports. When I went to Dallas, we called them feedback reports. But you evaluate everything you do, and you hear him talk about the process. The process is getting the right people together and doing the things the right way each and every day, and really being relentless in your pursuit of perfection, and then letting results take care of themselves. And that's what we did. That's the biggest takeaway from him, and did not surprise me one bit that he had the success that he had at Alabama just because of that. I knew he was going to recruit the hell out of and get a great team together and then coach them like none other. And his relentlessness to get things right, is unmatched. And I think that's the big reason for his success.
All right, last two things before we do with everybody. We're going to start with badasses. You've been around a lot of badasses in your career, whether that's playing for the Cowboys, you were on those Giants teams were so physical. You coached the Cowboys. Obviously, we coached the Dolphins as well. But you got to pick one. Give me the most badass football player Jason Garrett's ever been around.
It'll probably be two guys, Mark Tuinei, our left tackle for the Super Bowl championship teams, and Larry Allen.
There we go. Larry Allen's come up a lot on this show, but take me through those guys.
Yeah. Tui was the ultimate. He played left tackle for a number of years, former defensive lineman, college free agent, ended up playing 16 years in the NFL. And, I always thought it was symbolic that he played left tackle and was protecting Troy Aikman's blind side, because he was ultimately the guy that you wanted in any situation. Dark alley, you want Tui with you. And he'd knock the living out of anybody, and guys were just afraid of him, and rightfully so. And such a big-hearted guy. Everybody loved him to death. One of the funniest people you've ever met in your life. But trust me, he was as badass as they come. And the other guy, Larry Allen, he got stabbed 11 times growing up. He grew up in Compton, and I just don't know that I've ever seen another football player physically dominate other pro football players like he did. And again, one of the great guys, one of the greatest teammates you've ever seen in your life, but he had a nasty streak in him. I can't tell you the number of times when he would pull out into space and an NFL linebacker would be coming across to try to make a play, and he would hit the guy, and the guy would go flying across the screen. That guy's 245 pounds. He's an NFL player, and Larry just kicked the living out of him. So he was something else. So those two guys are the first two that came to my mind.
Absolutely. All right, last thing for you. It's called One Rep Back. You get to redo anything from your playing career or your coaching career. Get to do it right. Change something a little bit. What are you going with?
Oh, there's so many you look back on. Those are the things that keep you up at night. But I can remember Troy Aikman got hurt. I guess it was the 1998 season. So I started 5 games in a row for us, and we were playing the Raiders in the old Texas Stadium, and we had an opportunity, a 2-minute drill at the end of the game. We got the exact coverage that I thought we were going to get. We ran an in cut and a deep post against quarters coverage, and Turner, the safety from UCLA, I thought he came down on the in cut. I thought I was going to throw the deep post over the top for a touchdown, and he kind of baited me. He went down on the in cut and then backed up. I threw the deep post. I think we're going to score a game-winning touchdown in a 2-minute drill against the Raiders at Texas Stadium, and he ran back and intercepted the ball. So I still wake up in the middle of the night on that one. But trust me, that ain't the only one. There are a lot of them.
Jason Garrett, thank you so much, man. This was a blast. Rams at Eagles on NBC and Peacock Sunday at 3 p.m. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, great talking to you, Kev. Take care, bud.